All right, and welcome in episode 22 of Are You Cirrus? I am meteorologist Andrew Dockery.
And I'm Jamie Arnold, chief meteorologist here at WMBF News. Thanks for popping in. We had our first sort of missed week, a brief little pause.
We didn't tell anybody about it either. We just assumed that you all would know why.
With Idalia. Yeah. I had to take Idalia, Vidalia, whatever you want to call it.
At one point I called it Idalia Lila.
Yeah, I think I was so tired. I think it was Thursday afternoon. I called it Isadalia. I had Isaias and it just all kind of ran together.
The I name storms, as always,
Yep.
have come and got us.
Yep.
Let's do an Idalia recap before we introduce our guest for today.
Yeah, impactful. It would be nice if we could say for sure that hurricane season was over after that, but still got a long ways to go. It was an impactful little storm.
Yeah.
Here locally, obviously Florida took the biggest, but I think the biggest surprise, and I always say this, and I said this leading up to Idalia, every storm has its surprises.
Yeah.
And the rainfall was a bit of a surprise. We knew there was going to be a strip of heavy rain.
Yeah.
Weren't quite planning on a foot. Double digits.
Yeah.
We mentioned isolated 8 to 10 inch amounts, but I think some of the top amounts there up around Aner, Galavant's Ferry, Mullins were up around
Mullins
a foot.
Was like 12 feet. 11.
Yeah.
I saw 11.9 at a couple of Cocoa Ross stations.
Yeah.
The wind was impressive too.
Yeah, nice little backside wind.
A tropical storm.
Yeah.
Both the front and the back produced gusts that in some areas were higher than some of the previous storms we've had, which I thought was impressive.
Yeah.
The storm surge always
came in a little
playing it close.
Yeah. It's funny, that Wednesday afternoon as we were approaching high tide, I just happened to kind of glance up at our tin roof sky cam, and it was, I don't know, maybe 6. High tide that day was 8, and the waves were already brushing up against the dune line. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and ended up with the 6th highest. Number 6.
Yeah. And we're going to have to go back and dive because there was a winter storm. It's at number 5.
That's at number 5.
So that'll be interesting.
1st,
Maybe we do like a little research and, hey, here's what we found about it.
Yeah, I noticed that January 1st, 1987 is the number 5 highest water level. And I'm really curious. Kind of odd to have that much of a water rise in January, so it's probably a pretty powerful winter storm.
Yeah, well, a ton of comments and thank yous, and we appreciate everyone that said that. I did get one question that was for the podcast about Idalia.
Yeah.
So I said, why not? Let's do it. The question was, what's y'all's typical schedule during a hurricane?
I thought about this. This coming in because I've had
a
lot of people. I got stopped Labor Day. I went to happy hour and had 2 people stop and say thank you and said, how long were you there?
Yeah.
Let's just go through our schedules.
Yeah.
So Idalia hit Wednesday night into Thursday morning.
Mm-hmm.
I came into work around noon Wednesday. Worked through the afternoon, through the evening, left here around 12:30 Thursday morning.
Yeah.
Went home, took an hour nap. Got up, went to Cherry Grove. Did live shots for the morning show for the tornado touchdown in Cherry Grove. So was there till 7:30. Went home, took another nap. Came back here and did the 4, 5, and 6 that Thursday afternoon. Long and kind of tiring, but in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't as bad as most of our storms as far as lack of sleep-wise. But I'm also older, and every storm takes a little more out of me, so I'm still kind of in a little bit of a haze. I think it was perfectly timed because Labor Day, having the day off, was perfect. I finally got to, I feel like.
I was all over the place, just
Yeah.
like you. I think that Wednesday morning came in around 1 a.m. because there was just a lot to update.
Yep.
Stayed until 12:30. Went home, and I told myself I'd get back at like 6. Well, eventually nothing was happening, so I didn't come back until like 8.
Which was still too early.
It was too early. And then I stayed 8 p.m. to 12:30 after the noon the next day. I went home and took like a quick hour nap just to recover, and then came down with a sickness.
Yeah, then you got strep throat.
Everything.
Which is pretty common. A lot of times I will get sick after a storm because I feel like
you're working your body
your
overtime.
work, you're not getting sleep, and everything just kind of shuts down. Thankfully, fingers crossed, knock on wood, at this point, haven't gotten sick yet.
No, I think you're fine.
So,
if you
we'll
didn't
see.
get whatever I had around, because we were around all the time.
And I yelled at Andrew that Wednesday, the storm, we were discussing our schedules, and I said, I do not want to see your face until at least midnight.
You're like me, though. If you're
I
up,
know.
I would rather be at the studio.
I'd rather be here, yeah.
To at least help out, even if it's like, hey, let me update web.
Yeah.
Because
Or at
otherwise I'm
least-
going to sit at home and do nothing.
And for me, it's the convenience of having everything at my fingertips.
Oh,
At
yeah.
home, I'm on my phone, I'm on my iPad. It's kind of clunky. I can settle in here. Right. I can settle in here. Everything I need is here. I can kind of man the situation. So I get it.
And plus, we're weather junkies. We've
Yeah.
kind of said that before, and
Yeah.
I'm sure they've gotten this from the podcast. For everyone that maybe this is your first time, we always tell you like, comment, subscribe, share, rate.
Yeah.
We're still a 5-star rated podcast.
5-star,
with like
yeah.
50 ratings, which is awesome.
That's pretty good.
And I can't remember the listeners, but I think it was a total of like more than 5,000 downloads, which is awesome. So
Yeah.
thank you all for that. We actually have 2 guests today.
2 guests.
Our
It's our
first
first- yeah.
time ever having 2 guests.
It is a crowded house here this
I'm
morning.
going to let you introduce them too, because you're more used to them than
Yeah,
I am.
a little bit of my work family here. Let me slide my mic over here gently. Joining us this week here on Are You Cirrus, Eric Weisfeld and Rachel Bogle.
Eric looks nervous.
Eric does look nervous.
Eric doesn't get
Because he's
nervous.
never watched this. He has no idea what he's getting into.
Yeah.
Right off the get-go, we're calling it
That
out.
was question number 1. How many episodes have you seen?
You
Not a
already
single
know
one.
how many I've seen because I am diligent.
Yes.
I have seen all of them. It's
Really?
yeah, so it's a part of my my Thursday routine.
I love it.
Is I start watching on my way home, and then you guys are a part.
Yeah.
I watch on YouTube, so I like
love
to
it.
watch.
Yeah.
So it's a part of my routine. So I start watching on my way home, and then you guys are with me as I'm taking off my makeup mask for the day. So yeah,
Yeah.
so
Nice.
yeah,
And
every
when
Thursday.
Eric got here, Ricky, by the way, I call him Ricky.
Yeah.
Only because he hates it so much. I call him Ricky.
Nobody even knows why you call me Ricky.
I just started.
It was my nickname.
Just
when
one
I
day
was
started
little.
calling you Ricky.
and I
it's
made the
stuck.
mistake of telling you guys.
Yeah. So Ricky got here this morning and he was like, "Wow, this is pretty nice. What is this?" I was like, "This is one of the most crucial parts of the podcast." He's like,
Oh.
"Oh, look at the books." He
asked
he said, "Oh, you even have mugs." I'm like, "Ricky, have you watched
I've seen-
maybe 5 seconds of one?"
He only gets to
He
see
has
the
it.
clips when
Okay.
we do previews.
I
You
think we're going to
know.
learn very quickly that I'm the one who gets picked on. Always. Y'all pick
Well-
on. Okay, I'm up early. I'm here. I did the 11 last night. Talk about your...
We just talked about our
So
hurricane
listen,
schedules.
Yeah.
listen, somebody has to work.
I will watch from now on.
Thursday afternoon.
He's only gonna watch the one that we're on.
last
to make
Thursday
sure it's
afternoon.
good.
Last Thursday afternoon after Idalia, when I was literally almost comatose doing the newscast that afternoon, when all of it was over, Ricky comes in the studio and yawns. Oh, I'm so tired.
And
I
then
was here
Jamie
for
shoots
10
laser
hours.
beams out of his eyeballs.
He turns around
Shady.
and the look I got.
Yeah,
Like Linda Blair in The Exorcist,
Yep,
that
yep.
head turned all the way out.
Well, believe it or not, Ricky, we have some
Don't you start.
we have some international viewers
Yeah.
from other countries,
Yeah.
believe it or not. So there's people other than Myrtle Beach that actually listen and watch this
And
thing.
they now
Yeah.
think his name is Ricky.
yeah,
that's
so
fine.
this is Ricky
We'll make it
Weisfeld.
stick. Yep.
But for Eric and Rachel, people that may not know you, because there are people that aren't in South Carolina listening to this, tell us a little bit about yourself before we really start to pick on both of you all.
You want to go first?
No, you go
Because you know
first.
your story's much longer.
No, right.
Much longer.
I'm the talker. Go ahead, baby.
Oh, no. After you. We have to respect our seniors.
Is that what this show is? You pick
are the-
one person.
You are the oldest one in the building.
I am the oldest. Well, no, I'm not
Oldest.
the oldest.
You're the oldest in the building.
I am not.
You're the oldest on air in the
you.
building
Okay, I'll take that.
by a long shot.
So you want to tell you like my
I mean, you don't have to give me the full.
Yeah, we don't
Like
want
300
all- we don't want all of
44
it.
and 180 years
All right, so
ago.
originally from Indianapolis,
Okay.
Indiana. Been in the business 32 years. Worked in Kentucky, worked in Raleigh, North Carolina, Indianapolis, Indiana, Southwest Florida, Columbia for 6 years before coming here, 8 years ago almost. And with that, I pass.
And you actually started here doing mornings.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, you were on air in the mornings. And
Yeah,
then,
for like 2 years, I think.
yeah, and then you moved into the big seat.
Made the switch.
Did you love the morning shift?
You know what? I love the show. I love the people. Way back then,
Those hours are tough.
I am not a morning person, and I always tell people it doesn't matter how many years you do it. If you're not a morning person, I think I did a split shift in Indianapolis where I did the morning show, went home, slept, and then did the evenings. for 3 years, and that it just for me it's not good. I need sleep. I need sleep.
Or else he'll be yawning.
Yawning and cranky. And
Ricky also, he needs his sleep, but he gets more sleep than anybody I've ever met.
That is not true.
You get 10 hours of sleep
That
every
is
night.
not true. That is fake.
If
news.
you don't get 10 hours, you get 8 hours and then a 2-hour nap.
I do get 8 hours, and I like 9.
Can you imagine 8 or 9 hours of sleep?
I get about 3.5, 4 on average.
Oh no, it's
Right.
awesome. Even if
Yeah.
you wake up, you just go back to bed. That's the best. But some people need more sleep. Some
I mean,
people
I'm sure I do, but
Every parent with a new child
Right.
watching
baby
is just
and morning show, it's
Yeah.
like, when am I going to find 8 hours?
Yeah, you're set up.
And
for
then
that.
every night at the end of the 11, you're still yawning and complaining about how
I'm
tired
always
you are.
yawning. I don't know why. I think I get too much sleep.
Dial that number back just a
Right.
little
I'm
bit.
so sorry
right.
about that.
Yeah, just go for a
So
good
yeah, so
7
night
hours.
side is good for me. That's always been I'm more of a night owl.
Nice.
Until about 11 o'clock, and then you're done.
Oh, but yeah, I'm in bed and asleep.
Yeah,
before-
but then he's also asking me, all right, what should I be watching on Netflix? So he always has to figure out what he needs to watch. So like he's tired to an extent, but then
But
he
I
wants
never
to
watch it. I always
go
fall
home,
asleep.
and then he comes and he's mad at me the next day because he's like, I was up until 2:30 because you told me to watch Pam and Tommy or whatever, and I watched the whole thing.
And
are
then
those-
now we know why he's tired.
Yeah.
right.
I
Okay.
have nothing to do with that.
Let's talk about Rachel.
Yeah, Rachel, what about
Yeah.
you?
Well, I say I'm from Indianapolis. I'm actually from Gnawbone, Indiana, which is a very, very small town. So it is so small that we usually just claim the whole county. So if anyone knows Indiana, we're from Brown County, Indiana. It is a small tourist town known
really
for
cool.
rolling hills, beautiful trees. Like 2 million tourists come every single year. And I went to IU, just like
Oh, I went
this
to
one
IU.
here. And then my career journey is a little bit unique. So when I was at IU, I knew I wanted to do TV. I was a political science, pre-law journalism major, and I did an internship at the NBC affiliate in Indianapolis. And it was funny because one day I was out with one of the evening female anchors, and then she called me on my personal phone at the end of the day, and I was like, oh, this is not good. So I just let it go to voicemail because I was like, what did I do? So, and it was actually, she left me a message, and she said, there's something like I really like about you. My husband works for the Pacers, and they're looking for someone to be their in-house host. Want to know if you would do it. And I could not dial her back fast enough. I was like, yes, absolutely. So that was when I was a senior at IU in college. And that kind of snowballed into someone there saw me from a radio station, and they were like, oh, you're really good with like engaging a crowd, and I like your voice. Have you ever thought about filling in on the radio? And I was like, absolutely not. But these student loans are coming quickly, so, and I don't have anything else, going. I hadn't sent out any demos. Like, I've done none of it. So I was like, this sounds like an okay idea. That turned into being on the radio as a morning show host for 6 years in Indianapolis. Then I got a call from my last TV station, and they're like, have you ever thought about TV? I'm like, yeah, actually, 7-8 years ago, like that was the initial plan. Yeah, so it took a little bit, but I was really happy for that experience of getting me there.
Yeah.
Because I think I learned things on the radio that I wouldn't have gotten if I would have gone the typical route.
Yeah.
Because especially where the industry is going now, or a lot of the things that I saw in some of my colleagues all the way from college were like they could not go off the cuff very well. Like they're still training themselves to be able to go off the cuff. I'm like, that's all I do.
Yeah.
I could tap dance for
Right.
forever.
Oh, yeah.
And you have to be authentic too.
Yeah.
So that's one thing, whether you love it or not, you're going to get me. You get like 100% what you see is what you get. So I think a lot of that I learned from that history. But yeah, it's a bit of an interesting roundabout way of getting to where I am now. But it was an interesting journey for sure. So yeah, that's how we got here. Bought from there to Myrtle. So I'd
Yeah.
only been in Indiana. I'd only been in one market. So I was morning
That's
radio,
awesome. That's unique, too.
morning TV, and I am not a morning person. So what was really funny is whenever I got my radio job, I called my dad, and I was like, hey, guess what? I got a job. And he's like, oh, thank God. You know what I mean? Because he's like, perfect. She's going to be able to pay her bills, all this. We're all good. And then he said, so what are your hours going to be? And I'm explaining to him, and he laughed and goes, good luck, and hung up the phone. And then,
Yeah.
basically 12 years on, I was still doing mornings because the thing about morning TV is not only do you have to be up early, but you have to look decent too. So
And sound decent.
right. Oh my God.
Like you're there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and what was funny too, I don't know if this happens to you guys too, but allergies hit me. So especially in the mornings when your voice is already rough, but there's always 1 week in the fall and 1 week in the spring where I would sound like a boy going through puberty. Like there was nothing you could do about it. And I wasn't going to call off work because I'm one of those people where like I have to be dying to take off a day from work for being sick. So you just like go through it and I'm like, sorry, because I'm going through something, you know?
Battle through.
Yeah, so now finally it's a bit of an adjustment to go from mornings to evenings, but I also am a natural night owl, so it works much better for me.
Oh,
yeah. At least for now, at least until we start talking about having kids someday. We're gonna see about that. So
And you've melded perfectly with our little Nightside family here.
yes,
Yeah.
someone has to keep all these folks in line here.
It's me.
That's true.
It's me. But
Is it though?
Clearly, it's not me.
But we definitely
No,
we
it's
have
not
we
Ricky.
have a good time, and it's kind of wild too because we come from the same place.
Yeah.
Where he grew up a mile-ish from where I used to live.
Right.
So when
When
I
she
came
moved
down,
here, yeah.
Yeah. So it's really but I'd never met him before I came
But
down.
we've
That's
covered,
such
I
a
think,
crazy story.
I was just
Yeah.
thinking, we've covered every station in Indianapolis because I interned at 8, I worked at 6.
And I had no idea who he was.
Well, that's nice.
So I mean,
But we have a lot of
You've
friends.
made it.
there's a small
You made
age
it.
We have
gap.
a lot of
I mean,
friends.
we have a lot of
A
we
lot-
have a lot of similar
A
friends.
ton of friends.
Yeah, but I mean, he had already moved around and bopped around so much when I was
Well, I'm
growing
a lot
up there.
older
Yeah.
than she is. A lot
Well,
older.
I mean,
Yeah,
but
yeah, a
he'd
lot.
already gone on. By the time I was paying attention to who was on television when I was in college,
Right.
you had already gone.
Oh, yeah.
You were somewhere else at that point.
But it's
so.
funny because I can say to her, like, is this restaurant still there? Or whatever happened? Do people still go to that mall? I
And
mean,
I'm like, that's been gone forever.
That was never there.
He's like, is the Boston Market still at 86th and Ditch? You know?
Oh my goodness.
yeah, it's a small world.
Yeah, it
Jamie,
really, really
and I don't
is.
mean this as a dig.
No,
I
no,
I don't mean this as a dig at anything. You've worked with a lot of teams here.
Yeah.
What's it been like with Eric and Rachel?
Great. Fantastic. Rachel popped right in, settled in. And yeah, it's been smooth sailing.
Yeah.
You know, it's easy. We all get along fine.
I feel
It's
like you
easy.
could tell too.
Yeah.
At this point, it's just all
Yeah.
we had. I mean, especially for us.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah. Ricky and I are the crotchety old guys. Although he's the oldest.
Even though I don't look the oldest.
Well, we're two grumpy old men, and she's a ray of sunshine.
Yeah, so sometimes
comes
we're
in.
like, can we take it now? Yeah.
So she's a ray of sunshine. Rachel, you've also been since you got here a magnet for some crazy weather.
Yeah.
You were here.
You're welcome.
You were here. Yeah, no, I love it. Your first week here,
The
we
ice
had the
storm.
ice storm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was fun.
Yeah,
we had,
I know, and I was like, sorry, everybody. It was funny coming in here, too, because all of my neighbors were like, I'm so sorry. This is like the coldest weather we've ever had. And I'm sitting here in the
Right.
biggest jacket I ever wore the whole time when I first got here was like maybe a North Face zip
Yeah.
up. And I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And when the ice storm came, Matt, our boss, was like, do you need a hotel room? And I was like, fine.
Got
honey.
this.
I'm from Indianapolis. I'm like, we're going to put this in 4 low. We're fine. You know, like
Yeah.
this is nothing.
We're still in school
I'm
at
like,
this
yeah,
point.
I'm like, just slow it down and go easy on the brake,
Yep.
you know, but it has been a journey. Went through my first hurricane with
Yeah.
Ian.
Ian,
That was a journey. And that was just me, a lot of that was just trying to be a sponge, you know,
Yeah.
just to looking to the folks that had been here before, trying to learn as much as I could about, you know, what happens during hurricanes and how we guide folks through that. So that was a great learning experience.
Speaking of radio, that's one of those moments where it's like you fly by the seat of your pants.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to.
And it's just, all right, where are we going next? And
Yeah.
I remember that morning, we were like,
Yeah.
oh, man.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Here we
Until
go.
we get reports, because most of the time, you all come in once we start to get the news. That first initial,
Yeah,
I
those
don't
first
know,
couple of
hour or
hours of
two,
hurricane coverage until things really start to ramp up can get a little
repetitive.
repetitive.
Tough.
And then it's
Stretch.
then it's crazy.
Right.
Then it's crazy. But yeah,
and
having
then
that.
it just goes wild. And then at a certain point, it's, you know, hand off,
Yeah.
you know, and a lot of the repeating of similar information, too. And those are important reminders, too.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that we're repeating, we're talking about the emergency numbers and making sure you're keeping
Yeah.
911 lines clear and stuff like that. But it was definitely a cool experience, and talk about a long day. That was certainly a long day.
Yeah.
Was it for you? Did you an 8-hour day for
Jamie.
Ian?
He
This
needed
last
guys
storm.
tired?
Hang on now. This
knew where
last
that
storm.
was going.
This last
needed
storm,
to
I came
nap
in
in
at
the
1. in the afternoon, and I worked.
That's
until,
early.
Yeah.
And I worked until 12. Now I didn't pull your. I'm going home taking a nap, coming to doing the morning show and all that stuff.
So it was a 10-hour
Yeah.
day.
So it was a 10
I'm
hour.
just kidding.
What'd you say?
I said, buddy, I asked.
10-hour day.
Yeah.
It must have been
Yeah.
tough.
I mean,
Have you
that
recovered?
day I had to take a 10-hour sleep night, but I'm good.
The struggle.
That's my typical Wednesday.
Remember that?
through
Which
Friday.
hurricane was it where we spent the night here for 2 nights? Was it Florence?
That was Florence.
Yeah.
I have a Ricky
Oh,
story
God, I
for
was just
Florence.
set my
Please
stuff up.
tell.
Yeah, so
An after dark
so
or a normal?
no, this is a normal story, but just gives you an idea of
Are you talking about this?
who Ricky is. Kind of a running joke. Which one of us here is the biggest diva? This story solidifies the fact that it is him.
It is definitely not me.
When we were getting ready for Hurricane Florence, the initial forecast kind of had Florence coming in here as a major hurricane, and that shifted into it's probably going to be a major flood event. Either way, it was going to be a big event. It was going to be long and drawn out. So we kind of had our coverage plan together, and it was one of those storms where we knew that we would be spending the night here. People would be here for a long time. So the day the storm was about to kind of come in, we're all piling in, and everybody kind of claims a little corner or, a desk where they can kind of set up and maybe just rest their eyes for a minute. This is when our studio was still where we are right now, before we moved into the new studio. And at that point, the new studio was just kind of a big empty room.
It had some art on the walls.
I walk in there. Ricky has a queen size air mattress set up. He has
I bought
boxes.
a second one for anyone who wanted to use it.
He
He's a
has
giver.
He has boxes set up beside his bed like nightstands where he has all of the things that he needs. Little snacks. He had literally built an entire bedroom for
It
himself.
was a suite. It was
in
so
the-
nice. I'm telling you,
In
the
the
artwork.
studio.
Got his salt
That
lamp over
artwork
here,
worked
his oil
perfectly.
diffuser.
Right by my bed, there was art. It was very nice.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the meteorologists were looking for a square inch under a desk
You coulda
somewhere,
had my second
or
one.
in a
I brought
broom
that second
closet,
mattress.
to take a
got
nap.
the
But
whole
he's in there and he's comfortable.
I found out about this because I came in shortly after Florence,
Yeah.
and then we didn't have anything until Dorian.
Yeah.
And I remember during Dorian, because it was my first go around, I was like,
Yeah.
okay, let's see what. And I was like, does anyone sleep in Studio B?
See?
And I found out about this.
Yep.
They were like, well, that's Eric's room.
Eric's
And I was like, oh
Yeah.
man, he gets the whole studio.
No, yeah.
But I heard that story through other people because you.
Okay, I
played-
have two
The
things to say.
legend of Eric Weisfeld.
Yeah.
First of all, I brought in a second mattress, which turned into a fight between people fighting over it. And number two, I took showers in that sink in that bathroom right over there. So that's not. I mean, that's not deep.
Oh,
Jamie
we
had his
all
own
did.
private shower. No.
I don't have my own private shower. Up until 6 months ago, we didn't have anything. We finally have an office with a couch now.
Yeah, they have an office with a couch. Rachel
Looks
and I
nice.
just sit next to each other.
Because you work 8 hours
you have
and
a
then you go
desk.
home. So you don't need it.
So if I work more, then I get an office.
Maybe.
See, he's been really hardcore about wanting this office thing. I'm just happy because at my last station for 6 years, I only had 2 drawers, so I'm fine
Oh,
with
yeah,
my
you got all
little
kinds of
area.
stuff.
So-
Shared.
yeah, I am now. I've got a whole thing.
Yeah, you got a whole
set
cubicle.
up.
Let's talk
about
so
D-
I'm okay
okay,
with
how
that.
is-
Well,
how is
check
she
on
getting
me
past
in
this?
like 28
Let's
years.
talk
maybe.
about her little cubicle.
What?
You want to talk about diva? She has a pink rug, like a.
It's a very fluffy. It's
Well,
very
she
nice.
has. What do you
I
have?
have an air purifier. It's
Just
very
air
dusty
purifier.
in here.
Every day she's walking
I'm
in
loving
with new
this.
stuff. I'm like, does your
And it
husband know
was
you're
all
buying
in shades of rose gold.
Yeah.
Oh, and I just got
that's
one of the
okay.
mug warmers, and I actually got new shelving that I'm going to make. So we
Yeah.
can- I'm upgrading
It's
that.
Make
part.
yourself at home.
It's confined to her little spot.
Well,
and
wasn't
it's
I
the
making
comforts
myself
of
at home in
I don't
studio?
know.
Yeah, do it in your own office.
And then you have Eric here. You should every day he brings his lunch with like a very weird item because he's low carb. So yet he brings his own like Hidden Valley Ranch, like full Costco size with it on top.
That's not low carb.
He always brings some kind of full size giant sauce with him.
Because I go to the
to go with his zoodles
And where's your water bottle?
right here.
that he crushes.
This is how Ricky.
Oh,
this
I
is how
know.
Ricky
What
drinks on
this
the
show is about, y'all.
It is. It really is.
That's what we hear.
And our
Yeah.
boss gets so mad. He's like, "Do you need another water bottle?" I'm like, "What do you mean? It's not. It's 1 day old."
And you crush it
Because
every day.
When you drink water bottles, who goes like this? Like when
Me.
you drink it, you
Normal
Oh,
people.
you don't
crush it
squeeze
while
it.
you-
You don't have to squeeze it. The water,
I don't
gravity
know if
works.
I crush it when I squeeze it. Or,
Gravity works.
I don't know why it crushes.
The water will pour out by
He
itself.
just says, I don't know why it crushes.
It's that anger.
Yeah. Yes.
Speaking of which, we'll bring this back to weather. I do want to ask you, because we've asked all of our guests,
Yeah.
what was one memorable storm, either that you covered or growing up, that you remember that maybe was like, oh, that was a lot to cover, or something that just fascinated you? Yours may be snow. I don't know.
Yeah.
Most of the people.
Which snow is the question?
Yeah.
You know, so, because I used to, when I was in Indianapolis, I was a traffic anchor. So anytime we had anything crazy going on with roads, you know, then you're in early and you're staying late too. And we would always get the crazy kind of snow too, where it would snow, then it would melt overnight, but not
Oh, and
fully
then
melt away. You have that
refreeze.
sheen of ice
Yeah,
that
those are the worst.
refreezes, and then you get the other layer of snow, and it's a whole journey. But I remember there were some mornings too where, you know, you have your traffic cameras up and we'd be watching some of the ramps to one of the busiest areas on our interstate, and I just started calling people out. I just started being an absolute savage on the air with people to be like, don't be like this guy, because you'd see someone try to make it up this ramp and then they'd back down it all
I
on
remember
air.
this day.
All on air.
Yes.
They're like, oh, it's a bad idea. Or they'd see that there was a crash up ahead and they're like, actually, I think this was a better idea. And you would always have, you know, the semis that would roll because they'd be taking it too fast. I mean, so it's just a matter of which snow it is. But, you know, I've been through so many of them, just growing up in Indiana and then being on air at that point. But I would say certainly that, and then the snowpocalypse or the icepocalypse that we had the one year too, where basically everything was locked down in Indianapolis, and at that point,
means a lot if everything's locked down.
if everything is locked down in Indianapolis, that is a serious thing. Because I remember that was when I was still on the radio, so they put us up in a hotel room because no one was allowed to be out driving in that. So, and it was so bitterly cold, even for everyone there, and you had to okay it with police if you were leaving. Like, where are you going? I'm like, I'm literally going right down the road to go into work here, you know, to
Now,
deal
understand
with
we're
all of
talking
this.
to
So, yeah.
around here where we get put up in hotel rooms when it starts to sprinkle, but we're talking to get put up in
Like,
hotel
yeah, it was really
was
a wild
hardcore.
thing. But I mean, and even growing up too, where we would get so much snow where I live. So I basically grew up in the middle of the woods. So we had, you know, trees everywhere, like evergreens too. And there was one year where the snow had come down. It was that heavy snow that it was a refreeze too. And even to this day, my parents, their pine trees in the back, they had bent over from the weight of that snow and they never popped back up. So it was just kind of that one very memorable snow that just completely changed kind of the look of my parents' backyard, because they just couldn't withstand that. It was just, it
Like
was
a daily
wild.
reminder.
Yeah, and I grew up in such a hilly place. This would never happen today, but this sticks in my mind as in the old days. So I lived at the top of this hill. It was maybe like a quarter-mile hill, and it was a little bit of a curve on the way up. And when we would get really bad snows, our bus driver would tell us, you know, get in our seats, like strapped down, and he would make a running go.
No way.
I swear to you,
love
he
it.
would make a run and go. He would back the bus up, and you would hear vroom, they just go up, and he would try, and then sometimes it would only go halfway up, and then he'd have to, we start sliding back down, and he would try that a couple times, and if it didn't work, he's like, all right, well, I'm going to reverse this whole route, you know, so you can either get off last, or you can get out of the bus now and walk yourself up the hill, you know, uphill both ways. So I had to do that, but I was like, there is no way that this would ever fly today.
Right.
Just like a bus driver putting everyone's life on the line to try to ramp themselves up this hill. So
I love it.
yeah, it was also the same hill that we decided to try to sled down. And if you hear a car coming, you just like, you know, roll off the sled.
Those
So
were the days.
yeah, you know, it's when you grew up in the country. That's
What
what you do.
about yours, Ricky? Dust Bowl, Hurricane Hazel,
No,
your biggest ones?
So I think that weather that I grew up
Yeah.
with, and also like doing the morning show where you scrape your windows before the morning show, and then that weather got me to Raleigh, North Carolina, which was the first time and you know, I went to IU as well and never really left the Midwest. So when I went to Raleigh, it was the first time that I was like, my God, like there's a world of amazing weather out here, and I'm never going back to Indianapolis or anywhere past. This is the farthest south or farthest north I'm going. Then I ended up going back to Indianapolis for 7 years. That's a whole other story. So when I was in Raleigh, I was clueless as to hurricanes. And my first hurricane was, I've told you this, it was Bonnie.
1998.
Was it 98?
Yeah. We actually discussed it on my last podcast.
You'll
Oh, I
enjoy
saw
that
that.
one.
Yeah, you'll actually, I chased Hurricane
I'm going
Bonnie,
home
yeah.
and binging
Yeah, okay.
today.
Good.
We'll see.
So when
We
I
need
covered
reviews.
this
That's why he's going to be yawning tonight. He'll be like, I spent the whole last however many hours
Back to
binging.
Bonnie.
Are you serious?
so when I went to cover that hurricane, they sent me to Outer Banks.
Yep.
And I was clueless at, you know, like the first time you have, but I mean, I was really clueless. So I was out there covering, like, on the beach. I just remember that sand was just whipping in my face. And I'm covering the storm, and it wasn't a huge hurricane by
No.
any means.
No.
But for me, it was
Yeah.
because I'd never covered one. And I just remember doing live shots and saying, "You've got to see these tidal waves. These tidal waves are just huge." And my meteorologist called me and said,
Oh, the cringe on that side of the
"Eric, did you call
table.
those tidal waves?" I'm like, "Uh-huh." He's like, "Those aren't tidal waves." I'm like, so that's the one that always sticks out, because that was a very good learning experience for me, and I never said
Trial
tidal
by
wave again.
fire.
Good.
Trial by tidal wave.
So both coming from the snow area, blizzard coverage or hurricane coverage, which one do you prefer? Because I've covered blizzards too in Eastern Kentucky. I'm curious on if we're the same way or not.
I prefer hurricanes for sure.
Yeah,
Same.
I
Blizzard
do
coverage
too.
is so boring to
It's
me.
boring, and
It's just, I mean, because the blizzard thing
It's
is
like show the road, show the radar.
yeah, that's all you really can
Viewer
do.
photos.
Right, and then look at the the trucks are out. Like here's the plowing situation.
Yeah.
And it's,
who knew an
and
icicle
let's take the
could form
drive
there?
cam.
Like,
Where's
there's-
the worst areas? What are
Yeah.
what are you seeing? So, but. There, what you also get here, which is kind of nice to have that carryover, is at least we also have experience with tornadoes, which is
Oh,
something
yeah.
that we
Yeah.
still see here. So I think a lot of people, maybe coming from the north, you think the only thing you're really worried about down here and really watching for is going to be hurricanes, and that's not true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a
as we
surprise.
saw last week.
right, because they can spark
Yeah.
tornadoes.
I think we should do a little shooting the breeze. Do we have time?
Oh, we have plenty of
I
time.
want to see how Ricky does.
So
Especially.
the new
Could you
theme
explain
now.
to me what shooting the breeze is?
Well, welcome to Shooting the Breeze.
oh, is that this thing?
That is this.
Oh, cool.
But it is viewer submitted questions about weather, or what we do typically. And now our new tradition is the guest answer them.
Yeah.
So you are going to take
the weather question?
Yep. You're
Usually,
going to take
yeah.
a stab.
Yeah.
We're going to see how many you can
Yeah.
get right.
Can we pick who take, like when you read this one, can I say, okay, you take this
Is it going to be like a
Nope.
phone a friend kind of thing?
Nope, we're
I
gonna.
think we just.
Nope,
go
we're
ahead
gonna
and
start
roll
with
it.
Ricky. That's how we're gonna do it. It's our podcast.
Those are
Do what
viewer
we
submitted
say.
questions.
Yeah, dig down in there and get us one. Come on, Ricky. We don't have all day.
I can't wait for this. Is
Oh,
it
this
easy?
is going to be so. It's a softball. I already.
It's okay.
How does your work contribute to public safety?
Wow.
Should I answer this as a meteorologist? Or
Did
as a
you
news anchor? 'Cause
did
we
you
can do it as-
submit this?
Sounds like yeah, right.
That's the one I tore right here.
That's an easy one.
I mean, hugely, I would say, because as a meteorologist, you let us know about what's coming our way in the world of weather and what Mother Nature is bringing us, so we prepare you to act appropriately when you are outside, whether you should go outside or not go outside. And I think from the world of an anchor, public safety can be, we have a gunman on the loose, and you need to stay indoors and hunker down until police say you can go back out. I mean, I think 90% of our jobs, it's almost always about public safety.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to inform the public. That's what we do.
Okay, that was way too easy. Pick another one. Pick another one. Dig
Pick
down.
another one?
Yeah, that was way too
Oh,
easy.
you
I
guys
need
just want to do something
yeah.
That was
can
weak.
answer.
Yeah,
We'll
that
make
was
sure Rachel
way
answers the
too
same
easy.
amount.
Yeah.
The fact that that's the first one you draw.
I think that he
Right.
submitted it.
How long have you been in this business? No, okay. What is Colorado State's?
Hey, perfect.
Do you know this?
Let's
one?
go.
I saw that in there, and I just read it before I chose, and I try not to forget it. What is Colorado State's accuracy percentage via Library Queen on YouTube? What the heck? I don't even
So
understand.
So Library Queen
submitted
on
that.
YouTube
She's
submitted this question. That's her
Yeah.
username.
Oh, I see.
She- People
so thank
watch
you,
our
Library
podcast.
Queen.
What
We
is
appreciate
If you
it.
Colorado-
don't know what YouTube is,
I do know what
show
YouTube
you
is.
later.
What is Colorado State's accuracy percentage? Okay, so you're asking me what the percentage of accuracy
For their hurricane outlook.
Yeah. Colorado State issues the
Hurricane
hurricane outlooks every year.
Okay, hang on, I'm getting it. 73%.
And why do
You're just guessing. You're literally just
I
guessing.
got it.
He's like, that sounds right.
I know it's actually really good. I don't know the official percentage.
I'm looking right now.
Last I looked, I think
so
it was
you
in
don't
the
know
upper
either.
80s. Not off the top
Oh,
of my
I
head.
just
off the
got
top of my
83.
head.
It could be 83.
Over the past 9 years, Colorado State says its June forecasts have been 64% accurate.
Ooh, so it's one down. The June forecast, which
Yeah.
is important
Yeah.
because that's like their initial release.
But still, for a forecast 6 months out, that's
impressive.
darn good.
That is good.
Yeah.
That is good. Yeah. Rachel?
Okay.
We could probably come back to Ricky one more time.
Yes,
Oh,
we
yeah.
Y'all
Might
are
as well.
basically
For sure.
doing our job at this
Yeah.
point.
Have you experienced the impact weather has on people's lives?
Oh my gosh.
Are
She got another easy
another
one.
She
softball?
did.
I know. I'm like, I mean, yeah, certainly, but not to the effect where my home has not been impacted, fortunately, by anything where I would consider, that's the most impactful way, it can influence your life. I haven't been impacted in that way, but I think anyone who has lived in an area that experiences weather, which is everyone, you have experienced weather that impacts your life.
We
I
had
think-
one recently. I can't remember where it was. I think it was Williamsburg County. This was, when I say recently, years ago. But we had a tree down from a tornado that touched down in Williamsburg County, and I was out in the chaser. And, like, I feel bad. You almost have to separate, like, news and emotion because we wanted to get to the damage. But we had a tree that went through the roof, destroyed the entire house. So it's like, you're out. I felt bad. Like, you're out there taking pictures.
Yeah,
Right.
I know,
And,
it's
like,
kind of tough.
And you want to talk to them, but it's like, you also want to get it out first
Right.
and do the
Yeah.
hits.
But this is also probably one of the worst days someone has experienced.
Exactly. So
Right.
that's
Right.
where it's tough for me.
Yeah.
I'm sure we can all account to that at some
I
point.
mean, I think that when I'm anchoring the news and I'm doing stories and I'm showing things like that where people are devastated by the weather, really any kind of a tragedy,
Yeah.
it's not uncommon for me to start tearing up while I'm reading the news because you feel it for them when you're doing the stories. I mean, I told you, that story just brought tears to my eyes. So we're not immune. So even
Yeah.
if we're not right there experiencing it with you, we're still feeling it with you.
Right, yeah, because something that I always try to keep front of mind is I'm always a human first,
Yeah.
journalist second.
Yeah.
So I try to, no matter what the story is, I try to give every single story the same dignity as, this might not be my brother, sister, friend, but it's somebody's
Yeah.
brother,
That's
sister,
a good
friend.
perspective.
I think that's so important, and the minute you lose that, you probably should get out of this industry.
Yeah.
Because that's what we are. We're here for people.
Yeah.
I was covering a flash flood, sort of along the same lines of this, but where we get impacted by what we're covering. I was covering a flash flood at my previous station in North Carolina, and the core of it was sort of happening on my side of town. And as I was on the air, my neighbor would call and say, okay, the water's up to your first step. Okay, the water's up to your second step. Okay, the water's going in your garage. Okay, I'm going to try to move the cars in the driveway. Okay, it's about to get in the house. So that adds a second sort of element
yeah.
of, you're covering this big event, but at the same time, you're like,
It's
God, this is
affecting
my
me.
house. This is my
Right,
house.
yeah.
Same thing happened with Dorian. If you remember, with Hurricane Dorian, we had tornado after tornado after tornado. And one of them, at least the radar signature, was more or less headed right for my house. And, you kind of have to, in a way, you sort of separate yourself from it and you
You
still
have
cover
to.
it. But at the back of my mind, I'm really focusing on my street.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
okay, how
Let's go
close
back
are we
to this
going to
street.
get here?
Yeah,
How
right.
close are we getting here? Thankfully, that turned out okay. But yeah.
Now, do we have time for a second question? Because I think.
Oh, we got plenty of time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. What's this? Is there anyone you look up to in your field? A past teacher, a meteorologist on a big name network? Yeah. I mean, in my home market, Debbie Knox.
I love
She's
her.
an icon there. She's someone that's been in the industry, been in her market forever. But why she sticks with me, so I remember very vividly when I was in college, I knew I wanted to get into TV news, and I wanted to be an anchor. So I wrote to every single anchor in Indianapolis asking for, some advice, career advice. Wrote to every single one of them. She's the only one that wrote back. And it wasn't just like a little thing. I mean, she wrote this long email, very detailed,
Yeah.
giving plenty of her time. And that stuck with me for such a long time, for someone that took the time for a kid that has an interest in this field and doesn't just blow them off just because they have no relevance or importance to them, that she really did care about the next generation. And then it was a very interesting full circle moment that I actually got to work with her at my last station. So we had a moment where, so she was on the evening team, I was on the morning, so we kind of did a fusion thing to where she was interviewing me, and I got to tell that story back to her and say, you might not remember this, but I was a kid that
Yeah.
you took the time to write back
crazy.
to. So
That's
that was a really
That's awesome.
special moment. So not really a big name network, but someone, back in my home state, that has impacted me. And I try to remember that every time there's a kid, who writes to me, to always take the time, because you might be the only one that's
Yeah.
taking the time
Yeah.
to write back to those children. Those the future folks in our industry. So
Eric, what about you?
Moses.
Abraham.
I'm thinking.
We're terrible.
Fred Flintstone.
We'd like to apologize to Rick.
Good thing I have such a thick skin.
It shows.
Okay, so I'm gonna say I should have been thinking of this. I guess when I interned at Channel 8, which is where Debbie Knox was before she switched over to the other station. And I interned in public affairs. And Clayton Taylor he just recently retired, but he's a really well-known guy in this business, especially with public affairs all throughout the country, multi-Emmy Award winner. But he picked me because he was the one who was in charge of the internship program. He wanted me to work with him for some reason, and he took the time. I mean, I walked away with a resume tape, which was never usually done when you're in the public affairs internship. I mean, he took me on trips with him, and when they went as a crew to cover things in different cities, I remember going to Michigan, and I think that was when I fell in love with the business, because I'm not one of those who had newscasts when I was 3 years old in my backyard. Truth is that when I went to IU, I was sitting there on my bunk bed with my roommate deciding what I wanted to do for a living, and I thought, well, my grandfather was a dentist, maybe I'll be a dentist, or maybe I'll be an attorney. And then I thought, oh, this is true. And I thought, well, my middle sister, she tried to get into the broadcast news classes to become a TV journalist, and they were always filled. They filled so quickly. So I thought, I'm just going to go try when I was there, and I got into the class, and then I fell in love immediately with it. And so I think that that immediately I did my internship with Channel 8 and with Clayton, and he really solidified it for me, I think, because he took such time to help mold me and teach me and tell me exactly the way you should be doing this, and so I will always be indebted to him.
And I think we all have that. We all have a couple of people, and there's still, even, at my age, there's still people I meet that I look up to and geek out about. And
we've talked about some on here.
It's absolutely the same.
Now, did you guys, you said that you kind of went through early life trying to figure it out. What did you want to be like from the very beginning? Like, everyone has those elementary school dreams. Like, what did you think you wanted to be? Did you guys always know?
Mine was a professional bull rider. If that was my backup plan,
Sweet.
Swear to you,
I can see that.
My parents still have it. I had the cowboy hats and all. And then I knew at 5th grade weather.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was fascinated. We went to rodeos growing up all the time.
Yeah.
So it was
You
like,
knew forever, didn't you?
Yeah.
Weather's always. I
Yeah.
never ventured. It's always been weather.
Always.
Mine was too. I either wanted to be an attorney like my sister or an actor. Imagine that.
Wow.
Here we go.
I just opened myself
Tom
up.
Cruise.
That's
I didn't really
Jazz
know
hands.
until I think maybe I was a freshman in high school that I wanted definitely to be a journalist, because I took my first journalism class there. Before that, I thought I was going to go be like the next American Idol. I was like, I'm going to be.
Oh yeah, she sings opera.
But-
Quite a singer as well.
Yeah. Karaoke champion.
Well, I feel like we have to wrap up the episode with our two most talked about topics other than weather on here.
Yes.
Food and drinks.
Food and drinks.
Okay.
So real quick, your go-to cocktail.
Any of them for Rick.
Vodka
Literally
tonic.
vodka tonic.
tonic?
Yeah, but lately I've been tequila and soda, lower carbs, and supposedly you don't have a hangover.
Have you had a hangover?
What kind of soda? Like sparkling?
Club soda?
Club soda.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or soda water.
Okay,
Yeah.
got
So-
it.
Okay.
Some people say soda and think Coke. So.
And then like a lime, or sometimes I'll have like a little bit of pineapples or some kind of juice.
Ooh, I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Nice.
I do like a good caramel appletini.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Good time of the year for that.
can't make any of those
It
homemade.
is too.
Yeah, no.
And then I also have been in my Aperol spritz phase for the summer.
Yeah.
So
Yep,
I
yep.
got all the goodies to make
love
that
goodies.
at home. So it was Aperol spritz summer.
Love it.
I like it. And then, of course, this is where you can actually win over your favorite restaurant.
Yeah.
Your favorite restaurant in town is?
Oh gosh.
Or
You
favorite
have-
place to eat?
Come
One
on,
of
Ricky,
them?
you have the biggest social life of anybody I know. I know
It's
you're
hard
out
to
all the
pick
time.
Which one?
Well, you could just say, like,
Fiesta Mexicana.
We do
Yeah.
know you love that.
Fiesta Mexicana.
Yeah.
Um,
Because you used to live dangerously close
Yeah.
to it. I mean,
right
he was
a block.
within.
Yeah.
I literally could walk.
see,
could
this
walk.
is where
Yeah.
you cut it and send it to them.
Yeah.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, yeah.
They give gift cards, you know.
Oh, there you go.
Once a
The
year.
camera, no, just kidding.
And that
I
place.
said Fiesta Mexicana right there. I was,
And let's talk about a great success story for a restaurant. Do you remember
Yeah.
when it was just a little tiny
yes.
nothing?
And they've been here forever.
And has
so good.
expanded
So
and expanded and expanded, and they're like, I feel like they're open like 24 hours.
And they're always away.
The party never
You
stops.
can drive by Fiesta Mexicana at midnight, and there's like mariachi bands outside.
Oh
and
my
it's
God, because I would
and
go
it's a
home that
dance
way.
party.
So
Oh,
at
it's
midnight,
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you drive by there too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's amazing.
I
And you
love
can
to
hardly
see-
find a place to park. You have to
Never.
go park
Yep.
across the street
But
on
I-
the other end, the
yes,
big lot.
yeah.
But I
Oh,
love
yeah.
seeing them do so well. And
Yeah, I
here's a
do too.
little secret.
Uh-oh.
Once a year.
You can order the Ricky on the menu?
No, not yet.
Not
after
yet.
this,
Maybe
after this
after
podcast,
this
you
airs,
can.
right,
No,
maybe
once
after
a
this
year.
airs.
I think it's on Black Friday. They do half price gift cards.
Really?
So if you spend $150,
It's a $300
It's a $300 gift card.
Wow.
That's,
Oh, my
that's
friend's
usually what
going-
half price means.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you for
What
the
a
clarification.
great deal, though, right? It's amazing. I show up.
Teed it up. And
I know. I walk right into it every time. Okay,
Rachel, what
favorite
about
restaurant?
you?
So for so I love Italian food. I cannot get enough carbs
Oh,
ever.
same.
Yeah. So we are big fans of Malibu because I live down in the
Love
Surfside
Malibu,
area.
yep.
And Malibu on a Sunday when they do the Sunday sauce, and it's got all the meats in it and all the goodness. And then for like a good lunch spot, NY Deli.
That's my spot.
Darion told me
what
about
I'm-
it, and we finally went.
I
took
told
my
Darion,
husband-
Darion told
yeah.
you, and here we are.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Lord. Yes.
The
and
fact
then,
that you got dessert there too. Let's talk about that because the sandwiches are massive.
but we think ahead. So I saved half my sandwich so I could
Okay.
have dessert. Yeah.
Did
so
you get a cannoli or a cheesecake?
no, we got the cheesecake.
Oh.
We got 2 cheesecakes because my husband just likes his
Love them.
plain, and then I like mine with the sauce on it. But spoiler alert, he accidentally left some of his in the fridge, so he
Yeah.
no longer
And it's gone.
had any more. But it was great. And then we're sharing the love too, because my husband, after one of his paintball days with his friends, took all of them there and has shown them the lights. So now it's our go-to for lunch.
It's
so.
hard to choose. I always say, because when I worked in Raleigh, so North Carolina and South Carolina, I believe, have the best restaurants in the country. I
And
really do.
certainly no shortage of them.
Oh my gosh,
which
and
I
love.
unique and a lot of independent. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it.
Which is why it is so hard to keep fitting in the dresses. Like when I first got here, I was like, I'm gonna try everything, and then I was like, oh, this has got to stop.
Yeah. I mean, there's still a ton of spots I haven't been to, and I've tried out 150
yeah.
on air.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and I'm still like, oh, what's that
Yeah.
price?
And
Where
new
is
ones
that?
are popping
Oh,
up
yeah.
all the time
Everywhere.
too.
Always.
So I mean, even if you think you're hitting all of them, there's always going to be 10 new ones on the horizon.
So if you want to get mentioned on the podcast and send us an invite,
Yeah.
and we may just talk about it. We are definitely open for sponsorships.
Well, and
Yeah.
we can also, I mean, we
Or
are.
just
Are
tell
you-
Eric about a half off, and then he'll explain.
Right, yeah, he'll explain the math behind
What
it.
if we got an Are You Serious menu item at a restaurant?
Are you serious?
I'm going to just clip this
by-
whole segment and send it to
Exactly.
NY Deli.
Yeah, in Fiesta Mexicana, and Lombardo's. I need to get you to Lombardo's.
Yes.
There's
Yes.
so
Yes,
much. Chow is a
absolutely.
great restaurant.
Chow
That
is
was
so
great.
good.
Where else do I want to gift card from?
Keep dropping them.
I mean,
No,
and
but
we also did New York Prime a while back.
Love it. Yeah, classic.
I know, because I sent Jamie a picture of my martini,
Yeah.
and I was like, I'm
Classic.
channeling my inner Jamie. Right
Yeah.
now.
so good. Have you been to
Classic.
Frank's yet?
Oh, Frank.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
Okay.
at Frank's. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's a
you
staple.
just did
Yes.
Frank's, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
recently,
just did,
yeah.
and now we have to go back because we got a gift
Oh,
card
my
for Christmas
God.
for my sister because they love it so much. We forgot to bring it, so now we still have this gift card to go there. So I was like, perfect, a,
love it.
Oh.
built-in date.
Yeah.
Their sides
So-
are family style. That's my side.
Right,
and
yeah.
then we'll get another one.
It's so good.
Oh, man. Well, this is episode 22. I wanted to bring you all both on, too, to say congrats for the Emmy.
Yeah,
yeah?
Emmy award winning
That's
team.
awesome. And plus, this is our first time we've ever done 2 people. So
Yeah.
I think it worked
What
out.
a special
A little
moment.
Are You Serious history right here with a
Wow,
guy who's
part of it.
never seen a single episode.
I am
And
watching
but
every
it's
day
even
now.
now because you got the girl that's watched them all. So.
Yeah,
So
you know,
we
so
give you
you're
a
average of half of them. So there we go.
Which is 22 episodes, so half of that, 11.
11.
Jamie,
It's like the half
We're-
off
half
discount.
off,
We're that other
Right,
brand.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll have to have you back. It's season 2. That's it for episode 22, I think.
Yeah, we're going to reschedule Mitch West. He
Yeah.
was supposed to be here, but he
During
was
the
chasing
hurricane.
Idalia.
Things were happening.
Yeah, we're still working on getting our news director on, which I think would be a
Oh,
fantastic
that'd be
episode.
good.
Come on, Matt.
Yep, come on, Matt. We're
Get
still,
your general manager on there too.
We're still.
That means that
Oh,
we,
could
we,
you imagine?
We need to
I don't know
submit
about
some
that.
really good questions in here. Then we need to
Yes.
go fun, start submitting some really
Yes.
good ones. For
And
So
this.
we're,
submit any
um,
questions you want for Matt.
and we're still beating around ideas for a very merry Are You Serious?
Yeah, that's going to be our
live
finale.
episode for
Are You
Christmas.
Serious-mas?
Yeah, Are
You
You
will come back
Serious?
anytime.
Maybe at Fiesta Mexicana.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
right.
There you go.
Right.
It's full circle.
So we'll do a live show there, but it will be fun for sure. Also, for people that were wondering, Mitch did get into the eye wall of Idalia.
did.
So
He did.
when it made landfall in Florida,
Yeah.
So I'm sure we'll drill
Aaron,
that.
Our other one of our other
Smith.
local, Aaron Smith, one of our other local tasters, got some blue sky in the eye of Idalia. So
I can't wait to pick
yeah,
the brains.
so that'll be
about
fun
that.
having at least one of them on, if not both, would be fun.
Yeah, I'll
So,
reach out to
yeah.
Aaron and we'll get that set up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it though. Episode 22.
In the books.
Y'all have a good
Thanks
one.
for y'all
Yes.
for being here and joining us. I know it was so early for you, Ricky.
But it was worth it.
You've got time to go home.
Don't
and
worry,
get a
he's
nap.
already
That's my
counting the
plan.
hours.
Yeah, got time for a
How'd you
nap.
know that's what I was going to do?
That does it, you all. We'll see you all later.